I have to deliver later, right?
Oh my God.
Hello, how are you?
I'm here.
Can I hug you in this moment? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so good to see you. It's so long. How are you? We are. I mean, Marnie just wanted to punish you by bringing up. Yes. Hello.
Thank you so much for being here and for doing this.
I am so happy to be here. I can't wait to tell the story of how I got here.
Okay.
I'm going to throw that in because, as you know, there is no simple statement I can't make extend for 3 hours.
That's right.
So, I have a story to tell.
Whatever you would like.
Oh no. And then...
Sorry. Excellent. Congratulations.
Thank you. Super exciting.
I love your...
There's a box.
Oh, no.
I was hoping you were going to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad I am here. I thought you might be here too. This is great.
Italy, practiced in Italy, and somehow got to Madison and was one of those people that did.
All the
Good to see you.
How are you all doing?
Hi, good evening.
We are. I mean, Marnie just wanted to punish you by bringing up.
Yes. Now, I was
Hey, Marnie. Well, what?
Hi, Jason. It's optional. I don't want to make any money on
So, yes, I am a 40-year-old parent that says Dad can't play now. His hip is bothering him.
Oh my God. Oh.
Mario graduates, and then he's going to Mexico.
Thank you so much for coming. It warms my heart to see all my wonderful people from all my years here. We've turned the playlist off and the program is going to start in just a couple of minutes. So get yourself some food, get yourself some beverages. If you have to leave, there's going to be a bag right over here of little thank you tokens that I want everyone to take one before you leave. So it's fine if you have to leave before the program and grab a token on your way out. Anyway, grab some food, grab some drinks, program starting soon. Thank you again for coming.
Hey, how are you?
My name is Don Hartz. I'll be your MC for this afternoon, and I guess it's also my color. We'll be emceeing today, and welcome to Marnie Presser's retirement party from the Richland campus. During her time here, and we're very happy and proud of her. I can speak for myself real quick. I was a student here from 2008 to 2010. My wife was also a student here. My father was also a student here. My parents were both students here. And we all are very appreciative of the fact that we come here and serve this community, and especially Marnie here today. So while we start this off, Mike Dahlberg and I will be timing these people, so please do not go over time, right? You have 3 to 5 minutes. We will warn you, once we get to the 3-minute mark, we will say, wait, I didn't mark, so please don't take up too much time. We've got a number of people getting through today. So first we have Gene Burkett coming up to the stage. Welcome, Gene. And a lot of us really know Gene. He's been here forever and taught my dad when he was here back in the 70s.
Good afternoon. This is all about Marnie. And what I have to say is, we're like 2 ships in the night. I left, she came. But we got to know each other, and she didn't mind. And it is thanks to this young man right there, and his name is? All right. Marnie had a baby, and she needed somebody to teach for her, and I got the job. I was retired, but I came back and taught, and it was lovely to teach. And I found out about Marnie. I found out how careful, how caring, how thorough, what a wonderful English teacher she was. And I didn't have to do anything but stand up there and act like I knew what was going on. She had the syllabi for all of the courses all mapped out, and all I had to do was work with them, and that was absolutely wonderful. And I will confess now, Marnie, that I did one thing. I had been to England for a summer, and I loved Dorothy Wordsworth, sister of William Wordsworth, and I sneaked her into the syllabus, and I was able to do it so well because she was very thin. So it worked out very well. But anyway, she had a wonderful syllabus, marvelous students to work with. I especially enjoyed the literature class. And Marnie has been on our foundation at the campus. She has been an officer in the governance of our campus. She's been a real professional in the classroom and in the governance of the community, of the campus community. And I so respect what you've done all these years. I wish you a happy retirement, and I bet you won't be retired in 15 minutes. Thank you very much.
All right, our next one is Dion Kempthorne. Come on down. We want to hear all of your words that you've got for Marnie. Poor guy had to be the first one introduced by me. So I guess Marnie must dislike you or something. She just gave you Don, I guess.
All right, thank you. Thanks very much. It's great to be with you, and it's such a joy to see somebody that I haven't seen for a long time, almost 20 years it seems. I'm your version of Rip Van Winkle, who sleeps for 20 years and comes back and has lost his identity. So, Marnie had asked if I'd like to say a few words, and I would like to say a few words, but I've decided that the economy required in this short time for speaking will allow allowed me only to say one word 3 times. So I decided to borrow from Hamlet and say words, words, words. And I think all the actors in Hamlet, it's been said that there are more Hamlets than there are actors, because each time you say the words, 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 it's different from the previous time. What I want to do here is to read a poem for you. I found this poem while I was cruising in the internet to find some really hot ideas for retirement recreation, like things like climbing Mount Everest in a bikini, or walking on your hands to Boaz in a snowstorm. But in the process of my research, I found this poem written by our own celebrated retiree, Marnie Dresser. And I was thinking about giving her some advice, but now my advice to her would be that she should never mind me or anything I say. And be careful always to listen to yourself and to yourself better. In Marnie's poem, I think you'll hear someone who is highly self-aware, perhaps a tad self-deprecating, someone with a serious sense of humor. And I mean that serious sense of humor. Humor seems to me to be the highest form of intelligence I think to be raised. And she's someone who simply loves wordplay, and maybe most notably, which I find daunting in my own efforts at writing, she's someone who can treat subjects that are as emotionally and intellectually complex as things like love and death, those small things in my opinion. So, if I had more time, I would give you an elaborate description of the first time I met Marnie, and it was in a bar in Muscatine. Which I think beats the hell out of a box car in Toledo. It was very good, and from that moment I thought, I'm here with a literary figure. And I was thinking, she's only half as old as I am, but she's twice as smart. And while we were visiting, I think it was supposed to be part of an interview for hire, and I kept thinking that, I don't think I'm evaluating her, I think she's evaluating me. So there was this raising of the eyebrow every time I misspoke or said something silly. So anyhow, I'll save that for another day. But the poem that I'd like to read is by Marnie, and the title is Nothing Much. I have nothing to give you, and nothing but a piece of paper will help, except that having lost everything, you have less than nothing, so maybe nothing is something, maybe nothing is enough. I'm so sorry for your loss, I am so sad. I think of you so often. I send you love, I send you my prayers and my thoughts. I have this compulsion to make it about me. One time I grieved so hard for a man I barely knew. It took me years to write The Widow, and that letter was, like this current moment, about me. Love from a distance, and tokens and prayers and kind thoughts on paper and strong wishes every time you cross my mind, which is a lot. As you continue to do the math of all you've lost, the complicated math, the algebra, the calculus, the problems of depth are exponential. The remainders don't fit in there. Just add this in somewhere, this nothing. It isn't nothing exactly, but it's not enough. It's nothing much. I find that a wonderful poem. And my reading has been better. My reading and my writing are both big problems for me. I would, as a would-be poet, I myself would love to have written a poem like this. And my idea, since it's been said that imitation is the greatest form of flattery, my plan plan is to find all of Marnie's poems and publish them under my name. Because I
If
think
they get published, that's fine.
do a cover poem. My theory is that it classically is possible that pure stuff has to reach something like pure idolatry, which is where I am in regard to my writing. I wish to be as good as mine is. Though I don't want to give you any advice except to keep on writing, there are people who've advised not seeking counsel elsewhere. My favorite American philosopher, the comedian Billy Cowman, says, remember, always remember that we're all in this alone. Which is an interesting thought. There's a remoteness about life, and about consciousness, and about individual expression that can't be learned from anybody except the expression, except for yourself. Thoreau's very, very large journal entitled I to Myself. I mean, he was his own audience. I just finished a book about Emily Dickinson's friend and editor, Wentworth Higginson, and he said something that was striking to me. He said that people all say that Emily Dickinson was lonely. He said she was never lonely for a minute. She had decided to marry herself. And I've never quite heard that expression before, but she said she married herself, and in that, all of her thoughts and words were her friends and children, so she was never alone. So my advice is, in a general way, is to keep on writing. Don't forget about it. Emily Dickinson, again, in a profound sort of offhand way, also said something I would invite you to remember, is to make time for things that you really want to make time for. As Emily said in her love of life, life is so startling, there's hardly time for anything else. So make time for yourself. Thank you.
All right. I guess, can you all hear me, right? Yeah. All right. Oh, hi. Thank you, Michael. Next we have Nikki Jones. Nikki, are you here? Okay. You know, it's funny, Marnie found inspiration to have us MC. Of all things, we had a Zoom meeting a few years ago when the pandemic was still young, and we were talking about our 10-minute play festival we were doing here at the campus. And Mike and I just got off on a tangent, probably several tangents.
We have never done that before.
No, never. And Marnie just loved the report. She said, can you two MC for my retirement party? And we were both, she was joking.
Yeah, why would you hate people that much?
So here we are, a couple of years later. I'm very proud to MC this.
Oh,
You're gonna be fine.
the only thing I don't want you to do is trip on the floor. Oh, wait, I can get you one. Right here. Thanks, Kim. A little closer.
Can you all see me? Marnie's English 102 class was my first class on the first day of college. Like most of us on our first day at UW-CR, I was nervous, excited, eager, and curious how this would be different from high school English classes. I soon found out when Marnie announced that we should all call her by her first name, that food break was allowed in class and nobody could use the classroom without asking permission. No teacher had ever allowed any of those things before in the class I was in. I melted a little when she told us she was a writer. I had before had a teacher who was also a writer, or at least admitted to it. An inspiring writer in me felt seen in the classroom for the first time at 18. Because I enjoyed Marnie's classes so much, I established the rule for myself, and I still share this with others. When you find a teacher you like, who you learn more from than what you expect, and who seems to get you, stick with them. Every English class here at UW-Richland that I took was from Marnie. I'm really tired seeing my face, but whatever. And I still reference many of the lessons learned from those classes. Like there are things that the writer is responsible for, but also things that the reader is responsible for. For instance, first, and probably most important in this turbulent political times, I learned it's not enough to read an article or blog or watch a TV show and accept whatever information is presented. It's the reader's responsibility to look at who published or broadcasts a piece and assess what their motivation or agenda might be. Ask questions. Who owns a newspaper? What other businesses does that owner own? Do they have something to gain from me reading that article and possibly being influenced? Second, and illustrated by the only time I recall Marnie truly irritated by a classroom, after she asked what a specific word in the assignment meant, and she looked out at the classroom filled with blank stares and silence. I learned if you don't know what a word means in something you've read, it's not sufficient to believe you understand based on context. Writers are a tricky lot, and what you think a word means may not be the intention, and that could change everything. It doesn't take long to look up a word's definition, and we as a class learned that by looking up any and all unfamiliar words in the next assignment, because a quiz was threatened. Writers bear the burden of the relationship of reading, of course. But how did I know if I was writing a successful piece? Marnie introduced to us the concept of peer reviews, which I still use today in my novel writing. The hardest part of peer reviews was allowing someone I knew to read something I wrote, which I hadn't done before. And I felt so vulnerable. But after trusting the process, I learned it really did help. I've been part of the same critique group for about 10 years, and they've become some of my best friends because I practiced being able to be open and vulnerable in my writing. I'm not sure I would have completed writing 3 novels without Marnie as my teacher in those early days of learning to write. So thank you, Marnie.
And they were worried. Come on. All right, Mark Seals, you are up next. Oh, thank goodness you're right there. They don't have to hear me vamp for a long time.
You can do it.
I first met Marnie 17 years ago when I was hired as an English professor with UW colleges at the Baraboo campus. She was one of those colleagues who immediately was welcoming and kind. I think my first meaningful interaction was in the fall of 2008, when she came to the Baraboo campus to do a formal observation of my teaching. I had been through several of these observations, and most of them were frankly cruel. After Marnie's visit, she submitted a 4-page report of her observation of my lesson. She was as critical as the cruel professors, but her critique felt helpful. She made critical observations about my teaching that I would have thanked her for. She also gave me a model for how to observe and critique a colleague. Marnie has a way of injecting fun into any situation. Perhaps the best known of these was her creation of the Fun Infusion Task Force during a period when few of us were having very much fun working in the colleges. after another reorganization or something. In 2015, she successfully got faculty and staff on both the Richland and the Baraboo campuses competing in ridiculous events like scavenger hunts. It was great fun, and it did help morale. She also has provided me with a model of how to protest and object in a firm but civil manner. Years ago, we had a chancellor who seemed to have stopped listening to anyone, if he ever had. Marnie decided to boycott the chancellor's opening session at our convocation gathering. Instead, she had coffee at a local coffee shop during his talk. As a tenure-track faculty member at the time, I did not have the courage to join her. I'm certain she would have told me not to. There was fallout from her protest. I remember my dean telling me that someone had taken a screenshot of Marnie's social media post and shared it with all the other deans. I told our dean I thought that was dirty pool. One detail that illustrates her empathy and kindness is when she was collecting signatures for the recall election. I apologize for bringing politics in. But she posted on Facebook one day that she was dedicating that day's signature collection to her friend and colleague Mark Seals, because she resented that the governor had stolen my joy so thoroughly. That meant the world to me. I could go on, but I'm out of time. Suffice it to say, I love and admire Marnie Dresser. She is smart, tough, and relentlessly kind.
Thank you. Next up, we have Katie Couch. I know, that's real close.
We're so ready.
I feel like things are not ergonomically designed for me like this. Okay. I have some notes, which I'm going to open up because I want to get this right. We are here today to celebrate Marnie Dresser. I hope my words will really impress her. My poem will focus on teaching, professional development, and service. Marnie, you're so accomplished. Don't feel nervous. As for papers, she's graded approximately 23,808. She's helped thousands of students draft ideas and punctuate. She's an incisive poet, writing sonnets and villanelles. Some were about her favorite fat bombshells. Over the years, she served on almost every committee. She's always willing to get down to the institutional nitty-gritty. But it's too limiting to focus only on the three-legged stool, especially when our friend Marnie is so cool. So let's celebrate her more broadly as our friend, whose creativity is nearly impossible to comprehend. She brings to her friends paper airplanes, crafts, and washi tapes, not to mention the Fun and Fusion Task Force and colorful ice skates. It's impossible to address Marnie without Nate and Wendell. Her love for her family and cats is fundamental. On a rubric, her friendship exceeds expectations. My assessment is precise, no generalizations. To our esteemed professor, let's lift a glass because Marnie Dresser really kicks ass.
I feel bad for the next name, so I don't know how you follow that. But Molly Caston, you're going to show us how right now. Oh, you're in the back, so lucky for everyone else, I get to tell a story. So I just drove in from Chicago last night, and it took me about 5 hours to do it. But what you don't know is that I've had 5 days ongoing of a migraine from seasonal allergies. In addition, I found out yesterday morning that the car I was going to use couldn't be driven. And so I spent all day during capitalism's 9 to 5 also getting a rental car, and I got it by 5 o'clock to hit the road for rush hour, to then hit South Milwaukee, to then hit through Madison, and finally get here. And the point is, even though I really wanted at 5 o'clock to call like my father, my mother, my brother, and tell them, nope, I'm not coming because the bill is too high, I came, like all of you, because of who we're here for today. So thank you all for being here, and Molly, go ahead and take us away.
So when I started thinking about how long have I known Marnie, I had to go back in time a little bit and realized it was from the 90s, which seems like so far away. And how I met Marnie was through my husband, actually. He was teaching some cardio kickboxing and self-defense classes and assignments. And he's like, I met these two ladies, you really should meet them because I think you would like them. And I'm like, I don't need my husband to find friends for me. I can just find on my own, finding friends. And then I had to take over classes from him, and I met Marnie and Joy, and I'm like, oh, I actually know what he's talking about. Because he did pretty good. So that's when I started my relationship with Marnie. And during that time, I didn't have a lot of self-esteem. Didn't have much confidence in myself. And I developed a friendship with her. And in that friendship, I was so shocked and impressed that someone like Marnie, who was a professor, had her PhD, would befriend someone like me. And that is something that I learned from her before she was even a teacher of mine. How to treat people and how to be with people. In 2004, I came to this campus. I was, at the time, going through a difficult time, and part of it was because I wasn't intellectually challenged enough, and so it was time for me to come back to school. And I found that missing piece, but I was terrified. I was terrified to come in here. Was I smart enough? Did I have what it takes to have a college education? And Marnie, of course, encouraged me. And she encouraged me before I because I had been talking about it with her for probably 5 years. And finally, when I just did it, she's like, yeah, it's about time. I've been telling you can do this. So she was really truly one of my first mentors. When I left school here, I had her only for one semester. And the one semester I had her was a split semester because I had Jean Burkett for the first part. It was amazing. It was awesome. It was an awesome experience because she had Wendell. And after that, I was here 2 years, and then after that, we continued our friendship throughout the years. And it was a different kind of relationship. I've learned a lot from Marnie about teaching, writing. We meet in the summer. We'd meet in the summer because we live kind of in the same area, and we get to meet and talk about stuff that I don't think anybody else really cares, like writing and, how to bridge the gap between when kids are learning in high school and what they should be learning in college and all sorts of fun stuff like that. So I learned a lot from her at that point too. And every step of the way that I've been in a relationship, a friendship with Marnie, she has continually helped build my confidence, my self-esteem, and been a great mentor. I also, and she has changed my life, she's been a part of that. Another part that's changed my life that I can't be here and not say anything is this campus. When I graduated high school in 1989, I didn't come back to school at the campus until 2004 because I was afraid. I was terrified. I couldn't do it. And I finally came here, and it was an amazing experience. I see a lot of the same professors that I had in the room. It was something that was a good experience for me, and I will never forget. And it put me on the path to where I'm at today. So both the campus and Marnie have really had a huge impact on my life, and I wouldn't be where I am without either of them. Marnie, I wish you the best with whatever you do in your future, and I'm forever grateful for all that I've learned from you, and I know I will continue to learn. Thank you.
Next up, we have Rebecca Smith, who is another former student here. I know that because she was here around the same time that Bridget was here. So, yay, we have a lot of students and former faculty here. Come on up.
microphone to be heard. I'm still recovering from pneumonia, so I'm going to keep this a little briefer than I normally would to save my voice for chatting and catching up with all the lovely faces here. I attended UW-Richland starting at 21 because I too was desperately afraid I would not succeed in college and waited a while before being brave enough to walk through these doors. And in 2013, I attended from 2013 to 2015. And I have the privilege to say that I took one of Marnie's classes every single semester, largely because of what an inspiration she was, not just to me, but most of my entire friend group. And the very first day that I walked through these doors, she was my last class of the day. And I was tired, I was taking 18 credits, and I was working full time. And it was a very overwhelming day because I didn't know anyone on campus at all except for Bridget. That was the only person I knew here at that time. And I got to class early because I'm always early. And sat down and waited. And I was the only one in the room when she got there because it was unlocked from something else early because I got there when the other class was leaving. And in walks this impeccably dressed woman with the most precise, perfect lipstick I've ever seen in my life. And walks up to the board, didn't notice me initially because I must have been sitting stock still and exhausted. And just starts getting stuff ready on the board. And then I must have startled her very dramatically when I introduced myself because she must have jumped 8 inches in the air, and that is quite the jump at that time of day, especially because we were getting on towards the end of the day. And right from that moment, I was smitten and knew I would be taking classes of hers as long as I could. And by the end of that year, she was my mentor and helping me with just about everything in life and on campus. And to this day, she is a fashion icon and inspiration for many of us that love walking through these doors to return and visit. And much like I was in class, I wrote 8 very detailed, precise, different versions of something to say today, and scrapped all of them before walking in and presenting something off the cuff, which I'm sure from my freshman year is very familiar. But being back and getting to be with you when you are saying goodbye to this and moving on to new great things is my privilege. I'm very happy to be here and celebrate you today.
All right, next up is Matt Jorgensen. Come on down. And Marnie, how do you feel so far? Like so far today, like this is all brought to us by over-the-counter seasonal allergy relief medication and enterprise rent-a-car, pneumonia. Like we've been through it for you. Look at all these people. I just want a round of applause for everyone being here to celebrate this lovely, wonderful person today.
We should have put some.
Absolutely. Next time, your next retirement party. Come on in, Matt.
Brought to you by Aflac.
Okay, there we go. I had really intelligent things to say, and now I'm up here and there are a lot of things technically, mechanically, class-oriented that I can talk about, Marnie. That's too far away from everything. But I feel like even she would tell me that's a lot of teachers could do that. But there were things that I specifically learned in her classroom that I learned interacting with her outside of it, playing cards with Wendell, that I don't, that are wholly unique. At least in my experience. The first one, which is, this is going to sound silly, finding inspiration in the smallest of things. Now, I don't know if you know this or remember this, but you specifically referenced another student's poem where they used Cheeto orange as a descriptor. And I don't know why, but years later, we were taking natural writing, that's what it was. And I quoted that exact color when we were describing a landscape. And I don't know why, but that color has been stuck in my head ever since, and it's almost 8 years ago going on. The other, I think slightly more important one is helping foster creativity in others. My own creativity, it comes and goes, but especially now in the job I do now, folks come to me with problems and helping them get to where they're going, as opposed to just, this is the answer, this is what you need to do. Like, okay, well, what works for you? What is going to get you there? It's almost magic in a way, or intoxicating. Either way. The last one, and this is part of why I'm so nervous. I don't think I'm going to be able to read all of this in one go, but we're certainly going to try.
Go for it. You have 2 minutes.
Let's go. This is a quote that hung in Marnie's office the whole time I was there. And I'm sure she's going to recognize it. It's by Edward Abbey. One final paragraph of advice. Do not burn yourself out. Be as I am, a reluctant enthusiast, a part-time crusader, a half-hearted fanatic. Save the other half of yourself and your lives for pleasure and adventure. It is not enough to fight for the land. It is even more important to enjoy it while you can, while it's still here. So get out there and hunt and fish and mess around with your friends. Ramble out yonder and explore the forest. Climb the mountains, bag the peaks, run the rivers, breathe deep of that yet sweet and lucid air. Sit quietly for a while and contemplate the precious stillness, the lovely, mysterious, and awesome space. Enjoy yourself. Keep your brain in your head and your head firmly attached to your body. The body active and alive, and I promise you this much. I promise you this one sweet victory over our enemies, over those desk-bound men and women with their hearts in a safe deposit box and their eyes hypnotized by desk calculations. I promise you this, we'll outlive the bastards. I just have to let that breathe for a minute, because that is an amazing quote, an amazing thing to learn. The people who will tell you, love what you do and you will never work a day in your life, they are wrong. At least for the majority of us, right? A more accurate quote, and this is something that I learned from Marnie, that she more exemplified than physically taught, was if you love what you do, you will work to be proud of it. And I would wish you all the best here, but I don't feel like I have to wish it. I think you're just going to be all right.
Next up is Robert Johnson, a guy I know pretty well. I know him pretty well because Bob and I are old roommates. As a matter of fact, my first semester here at UW-Richland back in the day, I roomed with him and 2 other guys, and we continue to room with each other after we transferred to UW-Lacrosse. So Bob is a good young writer, and we're excited about what he's about to do after this is over. So come on up.
Thanks, Don, for not sharing any of the incredibly embarrassing stories.
I could have.
That's funny, though.
There's still time.
There's a time limit. So we'll forgo those. They often involve me waking up on strangers' porches in residential lacrosse. Oh, I just told some other stories. No, whoops. What I'm here for is to talk a little bit about a Festschrift, a commemorative book celebrating and honoring Marnie Rosen. Please send your best stuff, students, former students, colleagues, friends, family, fans, whatever your relationship is to Marnie. She has influenced you, taught you, inspired you in some way. Your fiction, your nonfiction, your poetry, your prose, the plays that you've written, they don't have to be about her or about this or any other campus, but the goodness of your works will speak to the quality of Marnie as a person and what she has given us over the years. It has been an absolute privilege since I first met Marnie in the spring of 2003. And as this campus winds down its history, I get to go down in history as having the very worst semester ever. I finished with a 0.00 GPA. I failed every single class. You can tie this, you shouldn't. Nobody could do worse than I did. And I was given a second chance a few years later, and I made the most of it. Second chances, opportunities, is one of the many things that Marnie has given all of us, myself especially, over the years. It's something many other people in this room have given me over the years. And I appreciate that from everybody. I'm so glad, I'm humbled, I'm honored to be able to help Marnie with this Festschrift book. Please flood my inbox with your best stuff. I look forward to helping her. This helps me as I move into an MFA program in creative writing, which in and of itself, I am indebted to Marnie and her teaching to be able to do. So please, send me your stuff for the love of Marnie.
I think that gave us a hashtag for the love of Marnie, and I kind of want to use it forever. I'm going to steal that.
Yes.
Ben Kirkman, you are next, wherever you may be. There we go. Excellent. Welcome up.
All right. So I'm Ben Kirkman. I'm one of the current students at UW-Richland. And speaking on behalf of the other current students, we'd like to say that Marnie is one of the best professionals at UW-Richland. She's talented, smart, and doesn't feel the need to put the class down. So a funny story from my first class with Marnie. It was the second semester, and you know, being freshmen, we're prone to being a little bit rowdy. We like to do our own classes and stuff. So one of the previous classes, me and another classmate had gotten into an argument over how to open a banana. And you know, we go to Marnie's class, and another classmate was kind enough to open the door for us. So we go in there and we write down on the whiteboard a poll on how to open a banana. And so as people filter into class, they're marking it down on the board, how they feel about it. And this argument is just getting more and more heated. Marnie walks in, she walks over to the board, looks at it for a minute, and just sits over there, just kind of expressionless for a second, pulls out the marker, marks down on one of the sides, and sits down. And people are continuing arguing about it, and I notice class time has come, and Marnie's just completely chilling. I was like, okay, well, we successfully derailed the class. This is going to be funny. And then Marnie's like, okay, well, now y'all get to go figure out, well, she organized it. She's like, those who are in favor of opening it from the bottom up, you go to the left side of the room, and the other people go to the right side of the room, and then she was like, split up into little groups and get peer-reviewed sources on this. and then form your arguments in the group, come back, write it down on the whiteboard, and we'll see who wins. And so we're doing that, everybody's really getting into it. And it took us probably halfway through the class before we realized that we were not the ones that had won. It was Marnie. We thought we could derail the class, and the reality of the matter is, Marnie had us just, yep, she had us. So that was one of the highlights of the first semester. And after that, it was kind of funny because we'd put polls and stuff on the whiteboard before class, and I don't think we ever successfully managed to get her derailed. It was pretty funny. But anyway, I think if we're all out on this, one of the things that we love most about Marnie is that she is a relatable professor that we all want. She's just awesome. From the soft deadlines to allowing us to postpone before class, there's many things she lets us do that other professors don't. And somehow she gets away with this and doesn't manage to, or doesn't let the class manage to get completely derailed. So, anyway, Marnie has changed campus for better, impacting the lives of countless students. Congratulations on your retirement. Your teaching will be missed by many. Your impact will be carried on by many ways.
Next up is a man who needs no introduction. Brandon Betterly, why are you coming up? Another professor who we've all had for many years and we all greatly appreciate. Brandon Betterly.
So I'm wearing this because you made it, Mark.
I didn't, but I made sure you got it. She enabled it, but I told her she had to give it.
I'm crediting you. So my words are going to try to be brief, but are going to mimic a lot of the conversations I've had with Marnie. Start serious. The middle part is going to be really silly and off track and then serious. Marnie is the kind of person that I can have a civil conversation with, that we both realize, say, about politically as opposite as we both possibly can be, and start and end respecting each other, and quite possibly learn something. Thank you. Now to the silly, and I have two stories. The first one is Marnie and I were pretending to be students in Gail's physical education class. And Marnie looks over to me and said, if we're supposed to be little kids, how come no one's throwing a tantrum? Which I took as a cue. And so I went in the corner and cried. And the instructor came and talked to me and I said, Marnie did it. And I believe that just about sums up her career. The second one is, I taught after Marnie in a distance ed room. And I walk into organic chemistry class, and there is a prop martini sitting on the desk, which then became a subject of discussion for the rest of my organic chemistry class. Once again, Marnie did it. The last thing I want to say is Marnie and I have children that are the same age. And when my son was attending here in the fall, there was a non-negotiable. He had to take Marnie. It might have led to some rather intense fellowship between my son and I, but he had to take Marnie. And so I'm going to say, I don't trust stewardship of my children to just anyone. Thank you.
Do I even need this one done? We don't. Oh, fine. Okay. So this one that I have the distinct pleasure to introduce. This one is, there are no words that I know to properly conceive the importance of this person to all of us in this room. We all thank them for just being part of our lives and for continuing to engage us even when we're not students anymore. We love you. would you like to say any final words?
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And I don't have a whole lot to say. You don't have to time me, but I don't have a whole lot to say. You're welcome to. There you go. The timing of this celebration is curious. Normally, you would retire and then have the celebration after the semester, but for obvious reasons, that wasn't going to work this semester. But I also wanted my current students to be here. So I'm happy that everyone is here, but this group of current students, I don't know, you may have heard this campus is going through a lot. I feel as though our numbers are small, but I think we just got rid of a lot of the jerks. Or the apathetic ones. Or the students who are here are sort of 100% amazing and special. I mean, and I'm not the only one who thinks that. So I really wanted them to be here. So, and having the party now, we actually have furniture. So there's all kinds of reasons for it. I wanted this blessing for myself. I wanted to hear the nice things that people would say. I tend to beat myself up a lot, and I just always have. So since 1992, when I've been here, anything good that happened, I promise you, I've seen the flaws, I've seen the weaknesses, and I've beat myself up about it. So I wanted this to try to counterbalance that. I wanted, because I know people are being nice, and I only invited people to speak that I thought would be nice. So, but I wanted that. It seemed like it was important. But I do have a few things that I wanted to say. And I just, Huck Finn got to see his own funeral. George Bailey got to have an angel show him what the world would be like without him. I want that. But I wanted it for all of you as well. I wanted you to be able to see each other. And if you haven't yet, there are postcards on most tables for you to say thank you to a Roadrunner. And not to me, to each other. And you're all honorary Roadrunners today, whether or not you want to be. But why wouldn't you want to be an honorary Roadrunner? It's an animal known for courage, speed, persistence. It's one of the few animals that actually attacks a rattlesnake. And they often do it in teams, which I think is clearly velociraptor behavior. And then I learned something in looking up Roadrunners. This may not appeal to you, but I think it's like the most awesome thing I've ever heard. They'll attack snakes that are too big for them to swallow whole, so they just swallow as much as they can. And then as they digest it, they swallow a little more. So they just carry around roadkill hanging out of their mouth. So why wouldn't you want to be a Roadrunner? Let that be a warning, maybe? I don't know. I have a playlist, and it is available on Amazon, and I'm probably going to add it to Spotify as well. It's just called Marnie's Retirement Party. It's a very Gen X kind of playlist, so for some of you it will resonate more than for others. But one of the songs on there, it's from the Blind Boys of Alabama, and it's called The Welcome Table. And it is a spiritual song, and it is, as much as I have a spiritual vision, it is the welcome table, that whatever blessings you have, you should share them. You should welcome others in. You shouldn't exclude others out. You should welcome others in. And as I was listening to it, I had forgotten one of the verses. One of the verses is, I'm going to tell God how you treat me. Well, that's lovely too. But I wanted to mention that. I'm going to mention just a few things that I'm proudest of in my career. One is, in our UW College's English department, I worked to codify what it meant to be a full professor and to make it an elected committee so that people who wanted to become full professor could see a clear pathway to what that meant. And I was so thrilled. In the few numbers that policy was in action, the numbers of full professor just shot up. And I was thrilled. It is, to whatever extent is possible, it is one of my legacies. Another thing I was proud of, and this is a strange moment, but it's an important story. I had a student who was not doing well, wasn't turning things in, wasn't passing, and then it was, right before finals week, I was doing a review. Here's what you need to turn in for your portfolio. Here's what you need to do. If you haven't done this yet, do that. And she came to the last two classes, and I was just so perplexed. I knew she couldn't pass. She knew she couldn't pass. And so we're walking out of the building, and she was asking me a question about the final assignment. And there wasn't anybody else around. I wasn't shaming her. I wasn't embarrassing her. I just said, "You baffle me." She said, "What?" I said, I'm no more baffled by you than I would. It's as if we walked out of this building and there were a giant mushroom that had sprung up while we were inside. That's how baffled I am. And she said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "You can't pass. You know you can't pass." She said, "Yeah, I know that. You know that. My friends don't know that." And I thought, oh. This class, it's actually not about me. And it's not even about her learning, it's about her. And I will never forget that. I owe her just to remind me, and I think I always knew this at least a little bit, but these are humans that I've been interacting with. And their lives outside this classroom are so much bigger than what I'm doing inside the classroom. I'm just like a little speck. Happy to be a big speck. So that's another thing. One of the several times I was steering chair on campus, I was reluctantly elected and threatened people at the spring elections and said, "All right, but I'm going to do something weird every single meeting, just so you know." And they elected me anyway, so I wasn't kidding. So one of the times we had a dance party. I just turned on the music. That's something people may not necessarily know about me. I do love to dance. I dance a lot, usually by myself, but I do. And it was a dance party, and so that was huge fun. And then one other thing I'm proud of that somebody else touched on, but when David Wilson was chancellor, he did some great things, and some things I found not okay. And one of the things he did was work on budget decisions and salary decisions with secretly formed task forces, which was not according to our shared governance, wasn't okay with me, wasn't okay with lots of people. And then they sent an email to everyone in the colleges about rehiring somebody in some position that I thought was useless in the first place. And I did it. I hit reply all. And you said, "No, I don't want to be on this committee. I don't think this committee should be in existence. I don't think this position should be filled. I just, both points sin." And then later, it was in the spring, I remember, because I was sitting in my backyard, and Nate, my husband, who's around here taking pictures, brought the phone out and said, "It's your chancellor." Hello? And he said, and he had reviewed that email, and that I was not the only one who had complained, and would I be willing to come to Madison for a meeting? And sure, happy to do it. And he said, "I respect you as the clarion voice for faculty." Maybe he meant it, maybe he didn't, but I took it as a compliment. So those are things that I'm proud of. And then I just want to finish with, I have could you bring me up that pile of tokens? This is the best reason to have a child. Go get me that. Can you go? Yeah. But he's very gracious to do it. So I wanted my program, please read the program. There's a poem on the back page that is just weirdly prescient. Sorry about that. And lots of people that I wanted to thank, I listed them in there. I forgot two of the long haulers that I've been working with a long time. One of them is Adam Haiti in Extension. It's not my fault. They moved them out of my building, and he doesn't come here for lunch anymore, so I don't see him anymore. But I apologize to him yesterday because I forgot him. And then the other one I forgot is Dale Murray. Also, don't feel too bad about that because he's on sabbatical, so it's his own fault. But I wanted to thank everyone, and I just, that felt like something, but it didn't feel like enough. Those of you who know me, who see my Facebook or my Instagram, you know that I've been sewing a lot, and that is a huge part of how I keep whatever sanity I have. And I've been sewing these things that I first was calling ornament cards, and I didn't know what to call them, but I sew something on cardstock, and I put a loop on it so you can hang it wherever you want to hang it, and then I can write on the back. And I thought, I had bought thank you ribbon. I want to make little thank you tokens for people at the party. So I checked the RSVP, and that's actually going to be a big party. I went, oh, I probably can't. And this is less than a week ago I started thinking it. Oh, I probably can't do that. And I think I can do that. So I just started manufacturing them. And for me, they are an object lesson or a metaphor for my teaching career. So I'm going to show you, this is the prototype. And even the prototype is messed up because the loop was supposed to be on the top, not the side. And there's a little bit of lavender inside because I thought, well, wouldn't that be lovely? We can all just sniff the lavender and calm ourselves. The lavender got abandoned almost immediately. That was just that. When you have, I called it the gratitude factory this weekend. The lavender was just too much trouble. So some of them, it's a rubber stamp of a Roadrunner. And the head is so faint on some of them because my rubber stamping skills are inconsistent that some of the Roadrunners look headless. Sometimes I got too much ink on so they look like, you know, like those radioactive shadows when something awful happens. And then at some point my machine started doing something weird, and it took me so much longer than it should have to realize I needed to change the needle. So some of them, the stitching is just really bizarre or really glommed up on the back. And then, oh, this one, the Roadrunner is actually striped because I had the fabric dye. I just put it on dots and didn't work it in, so it's just striped. So they're just messed up. So some of them are kind of perfect. But I was thinking, you know, there's a saying, if a thing's worth doing, it's worth doing right. And I hate that saying because it's just a perfectionist saying. I think if a thing's worth doing, it's worth doing. And the other saying I love is don't let the perfect get in the way of the good. I love that saying. I will say, maybe there are times I could aim for excellence just a little more. A little more often, maybe. I took a sewing class recently, and one of the teachers, Marge Hopman, I just adore her, was showing me that, no, I really could get the pattern on my fabric straight. She showed me, and I'm like, okay, that's worth it. It's worth taking a little extra time to get it straight. But I would like you all to accept this token. There's a big bag of them over there. We may have somebody pass them out, but please take one before you go. And just know that I'm thanking you for being here, for being a part of my life. And they are not perfect, but they're good. And it turns out, if you do something that's good enough for long enough, it's actually pretty great. So that's it. Thank you all again. My only encore is eat more food. And if you haven't yet written a thank you postcard to a Roadrunner other than me, please do that. And thank you all again.